A stunning young explorer uncovers a forgotten tomb deep in the Arizona desert, but one touch sends her hurtling through time into an ancient civilization lost to history. Trapped in a world ruled by mystic gods, tribal wars, and dark rituals, she's hunted by a cursed figure wearing a skull for a face and glowing green eyes. With every breath, the jungle tightens. Every shadow watches. As villages fall under siege and the ground itself trembles, one warrior stands between her and a force that feeds on fear. She's terrified, lost, and running out of places to hide. And Oro is getting closer. 3 True Terror Street Ories. It was late September in Shreveport, Louisiana. The kind of night where the air sat heavy and nothing felt quite right. That was when we first saw him standing by the tarot reader's porch, motionless, smiling behind a mask. Camille was 23, a local pageant girl turned receptionist, short dark hair, striking green eyes. She had no business being part of what came next, but she wanted answers. That's why she knocked on the door of Maudie's tarot room. I was with her Dashcam, so was Lena, our friend since college. Maudie read the cards, but none of us expected the fourth person already inside. A man in a dark coat, seated in the corner, face covered in a pale mask, eyes just holes. When the lights flickered, he laughed. A dry, deliberate sound. Camille asked what he wanted. He didn't reply. He just pointed at the cards on the table. Temperance sat at the center. We left after that, but he kept showing up. At Camille's work, outside Lena's apartment, on the train, across from me. Never saying anything, just watching. When Camille got a note slipped into her mailbox, it was just one sentence: come back and finish the reading. She wanted to ignore it. We all did. But that night, she didn't answer her phone. Her place was locked from the outside. Her shoes were still by the door. Inside, the table was reset, same as before. Candles lit. Cards laid out. No one there, but a faint smell of jasmine and mold. Then the mirror cracked on its own. We found her 2 days later, in a park 20 miles away. No memory. Her eyes wouldn't close when she blinked. She kept repeating one thing: he's not a man. He's the reason the cards shake. Now we stay together. We travel town to town, helping Maudie break the pattern. Because that thing, whatever it is, he follows the cards. And he always shows up for the 14th draw. In the final scene, he stands at the edge of the woods, mask tilted, coat brushing against the grass. His laugh returns softer now, almost like it's coming from inside you. Camille steps toward him once, like drawn by a string, then stops. He turns and vanishes. Step. But the cards remain on the ground. All 13 face up, one still flipped, and we know what's coming next. Through time, into an ancient civilization lost to history. Trapped in a world ruled by mystic gods, tribal wars, and dark rituals, she's hunted by a cursed figure wearing a skull for a face and glowing green eyes. With every breath, the jungle tightens. Every shadow watches. As villages fall under siege and the ground itself trembles, one warrior stands between her and a force that feeds on fear. She's terrified, lost, and running out of places to hide. And Oro is getting closer. 3 True Terror Street Ories. It was late September in Shreveport, Louisiana. I kept moving, no idea where we were going, only that the jungle was deeper now and the air colder. Taya held my hand tight. She didn't speak much, just pointed toward paths only she seemed to see. Behind us, something cracked, like bark, snapping under slow weight. Kale wasn't with us anymore. I didn't know if he survived that moment in the fire chamber, but the silence left behind was heavier than fear. Taya said we needed to reach the mirrors. I didn't ask what that meant. I just followed. We passed through a canyon where the trees bent inward, like they were watching us. Strange faces carved into stone followed our steps. Some of them looked almost alive, mouths open in warning or shock. I could feel something on my skin. Not wind, not air, like the presence of something that had never left. Taya stopped and pointed toward a shallow river. On the other side stood a woman dressed in silver fabric and dark beads. Her name was Saren. She was older, maybe in her 40s, but her eyes had the stillness that made you quiet without asking. She had once served in the same temple Oro had cursed. She said the tomb I touched wasn't just a Dorit, was bait. The seal was meant to attract those with spirit energy, a type of memory living inside the blood. I asked how to go back. She looked at Taya, then shook her head. She said time only opens for one reason, and once it does, it doesn't close the same way. That night, they gave us shelter in a hidden cavern, lit by glowing roots. The air was warm, but I didn't sleep. I heard whispers echo off the walls, voices without mouths. Somewhere outside, I heard Kael's name spoken once, then silence. Saren said he might still be alive, but not the same. In the morning, we moved fast. Saren said Oro was rebuilding his form. The farther he traveled from the tomb, the less bound he became. We passed through ruins built with stone that pulsed faint blue. Not ancient, alive. I tried not to look too long. Later, we reached the place Taya called the Mirror Garden. There were no plants, only glass shards half buried in the ground. Some were taller than me. They reflected strange things. Not us. Not even this world. I saw cities burning, sky torn open, people with eyes missing. Taya stared at one for too long and started shaking. Saren pulled her away and whispered a chant that made my ears ache. Suddenly, a sound like breathing came from the edge of the garden. Oro stood between two mirrors, his form clearer now. Less bones, more flesh, but wrong. His eyes were two glowing points, one red, one green. His jaw clicked slightly when he stepped forward, and this time, he wasn't alone. Two figures emerged beside him, a man and a woman. Their skin was grayish, eyes blank, but they moved like puppets without strings. Saren called them the Taken, people marked by Oro's spirit. They did not remember who they were, only who they obeyed. We ran. The garden made it hard. Reflections distorted depth. I almost slammed into a mirror that wasn't there. Taya pulled me through a narrow passage under the stone. The air was tight, almost too small for me, but it kept going. Behind us, I heard scraping and slow steps. Inside the passage, I couldn't see, only feel the heat of the others ahead of me. Then we dropped. Just a short fall. I landed hard, but whole. We were inside a chamber with a single object in the middle, a disc carved from obsidian. Saren said it was an echo anchor, a memory trap. Oro appeared again, right at the edge. He didn't speak, just lifted a hand and the Taken moved. Saren stood her ground. She pressed her palm to the disc. It pulsed once, then lit up in lines. I saw images flash. A past I didn't live. A war between temples. Power that never died, only sank. Then something strange happened. Oro stepped into the chamber, but his form flickered. He looked at me. This time, not like prey, but like someone recognizing something. His mouth twitched, not a smile, just tension. Then the glow in his chest dimmed. He stepped back. Saren dropped to one knee, exhausted. She said the anchor bought us time, not safety. Now we rest. Just for a moment. The sun is rising, but the birds don't sing. Taya won't let go of my hand. I keep thinking about the mirror I saw. The one that showed my apartment, but the lights were off. The windows broken, and something waiting inside. We're not done. Not even close. We left the chamber before sunrise. Saren moved slower than before, her face pale and her steps uncertain. Taya kept close to her, whispering words I didn't understand. The ground above us rumbled faintly, like distant footsteps that hadn't found us yet. I didn't know what day it was anymore, or if time still worked the same way here. Kale returned just before noon. His arm was burned, and he looked like he'd been through the core of the earth, but his eyes were clear. He said Oro had retreated toward the hills, to the ancient towers where the old ones used to summon storms. No one followed him there, not even the wind. We camped near a dried out riverbed. Taya drew symbols in the dirt, said it would confuse the Taken. I stayed close, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching us, not with eyes, with memory, like it remembered me and was waiting for the right moment to step back in. Saren said there might be a way out, but it meant returning to the crater where I first arrived. She called it the Mouth, a place where timelines split and the veil weakens. She warned me it only opens during the eclipse, and it was coming soon. One chance, that's all. We moved at dusk, walking through burnt fields and stone paths carved with animal shapes I'd never seen before. In the distance, drums echoed again, not like before, slower, deeper, with something behind them, voices chanting in broken breath. We passed an abandoned village, homes made of reed and black clay, each with red paint across the doors. Kale wouldn't go near them. He said those were the last to resist Oro. Their names had been taken, and with it, their ability to leave. Night came fast. We reached the crater by moonlight. It was wider than I remembered, pulsing with low vibrations. The sky had changed. Stars bent around the horizon like they were falling into the pit. Saren handed me a stone amulet and told me not to let go of it, no matter what. Then the ground shifted. Oro emerged from the edge of the jungle, his form taller than before, his arms longer. His face still a skull, but cracked down the middle, something glowing inside. He didn't rush. He just stepped forward, and behind him came more of the Taken. One of them was familiar, a girl with short hair, trembling hands. I remembered her from the dig site. Her name was Mia. She disappeared the second week. No one ever found her. Now she stood with eyes blank, mouth open, like it had forgotten how to close. My chest tightened. Kael stood in front of us. He didn't speak, just placed both hands on the ground. The earth beneath Oro cracked, but Oro didn't stop. He raised a hand, and Mia moved, fast, toward me. I froze, couldn't move. Kale shouted, but it was Saren who stepped in her way. She spoke one word. I didn't understand it, but it rang like iron. Mia fell to her knees, eyes wide, like something had returned. Oro roared, but no sound came out. Just a pressure that made my nose burn and my knees give out. Taya pulled my hand. We ran down the slope into the crater. It felt alive. The dirt under my feet pulsed with heat. Lights swirled in the sky above, not stars now, but strands of something brighter. The amulet grew heavy. I could feel it pulling. Behind me, Oro entered the crater. He didn't walk. He floated. Just a few inches, but enough to make the air fold. Kale fought two Taken at once, spinning with the kind of precision that felt old, like he'd trained for this moment his entire life. Saren knelt at the center and traced a spiral into the ground. I stepped into it, still holding Taya's hand. Oro reached out, but the amulet burned white. His fingers stopped inches from my face. I saw into him for a second. Not pain, not rage, hunger, but not for food, for return, for presence. The wind spun, the spiral lit up, everything shook. Then silence. I opened my eyes on hard stone, not the jungle, concrete. I was on a rooftop, city lights, noise. My chest hurt from the landing. My clothes were still torn, dirt on my arms. But I was back, alone. Taya was gone. Saren, Kael, all of them. In my hand, the amulet still glowed faintly. Every mirror I've looked into since shows a flicker behind me. And sometimes, at night, I wake up with the sound of drums far away, slower now, but louder. Back home, nothing felt familiar anymore. My bed was the same. The air wasn't. I checked the amulet every morning. Still warm, still glowing, just slightly. I kept it wrapped in a towel inside the drawer. Some nights, I thought I heard it hum. I tried returning to work. My boss at the museum asked why I disappeared. I told her it was a personal emergency. She didn't press. But I knew she was watching. My coworker Brendan noticed too. He asked if I was okay, said I looked like I hadn't slept in weeks. I hadn't. My dreams were never still. The crater, the mirrors, the jungle heat. And sometimes, Taya's voice whispering from a corner of my room. I told myself it was nothing. But deep down, I knew something was still open. One night, I left the amulet in the living room. I wanted to see if I could get through one night without it. Around 2 a.m., the hallway light turned on by itself. I live alone. My apartment isn't that old. I've never had issues with electricity. I got up, walked out slowly. The light was flickering. I turned it off. It came back on 5 seconds later, this time dimmer. Then, I saw something that froze me. A faint reflection in the window. Not mine, not anyone I knew. Just a figure, tall, thin, still, no face. I turned the lights off and backed into my room. I wrapped the amulet back around my neck. Everything stopped. Dead silence. Not even cars outside. I didn't sleep, but I didn't move either. I stayed in that spot till the sun came through the blinds. The next morning, Brendan dropped off a file I needed. I noticed him pause at the doorway. His eyes went to the shelf where I kept the wrapped cloth. He didn't say anything, but something about his posture changed. He didn't stay long. Later that day, he sent me a link. An old archaeological article from South America. A dig that vanished in 1998. A survivor mentioned strange drums. A masked figure. And a girl with copper skin and a green object shaped like an eye. I read the whole thing 3 times. That night, I invited Brendan over. I told him everything, not all at once, just enough to see if he'd believe any of it. He listened, quiet. When I was done, he asked if I still had the amulet. I said yes. He nodded like he already knew. He said his grandmother was from a place called Isla Tayampa, a name I had never heard, but it sounded close to what Saren once whispered. He said she used to draw symbols on their doorstep during winter and warned them not to answer knocks after sunset. I asked him why he never told me. He said he didn't think I'd need to know, not until now. I gave him the amulet, just for the night. He promised to keep it close. I wanted to test something, to see if it would follow me or stay with the stone. Around midnight, I walked down to the corner store. The street was quiet. The air had that cold stillness before a storm. As I turned the corner, I saw a man standing under the bus stop. Not moving, not waiting, just standing. I walked past. Didn't look at him, but I felt his eyes, or the absence of them. When I got back, Brendan wasn't answering. His phone rang twice, then nothing. I knocked on his door. No response. I went home. My apartment was cold, freezing. I opened the drawer. Empty. I tried to sleep, but couldn't. Not even with the lights on. The next morning, Brendan showed up at my door. Eyes bloodshot, shirt inside out. He said he didn't sleep. Said the amulet burned him in the middle of the night. Left a mark on his chest, like an open eye. He showed me. It wasn't a burn. It was branded. He said the drums were louder now, and they weren't just in dreams anymore. I stayed in touch with Brendan after that night. We didn't talk much about what happened. Sometimes he'd text just to say the hum was back, or that the air felt heavier. He kept the amulet locked in a small wooden box, and only opened it if the lights in his place started flickering. One day, I met someone named Elise. She worked in the anthropology department and had recently transferred from a university in Mexico. She had this quiet way about her, like she knew more than she let on. She noticed the mark on Brendan's chest when he reached for a book and didn't say a word at first. Later, she pulled me aside and asked if we had found something sacred. Not in the casual way people talk about artifacts, but in a voice that sounded like a warning. I hesitated, then nodded. She told me there were places in the jungle that weren't meant to be mapped, names that shouldn't be spoken. Her grandmother once called them breathing wounds. Tears in time. That night, Elise came over and brought an old leather-bound journal written in Nahuatl. She translated a passage for us. It spoke of a guardian who travels between ages, always seeking the one who crossed by accident. His form changes, but the presence is the same. The next morning, Brendan wasn't at work. His apartment door was ajar. I found his phone on the couch, screen cracked, still warm. The box was open. The amulet was gone. No sign of a break-in, just the faint smell of soil and something like rain, even though the day was dry. I stayed outside his building for a while, hoping he'd just show up. He didn't. I called Elise. She said we had to go to the coast. There was a place there, a temple now buried under stone, but still active in memory. It had once served as a crossing point. We rented a car and drove 6 hours west. The weather changed the closer we got. Clouds that didn't move, air that hummed beneath the surface. We stayed in a small cabin near a dried river. Elise brought candles, herbs, and pages she refused to let me read. She said the guardian might not appear in the same form, that it could use others, that it could speak through someone familiar. That night, I dreamed of Kyle. He stood in the middle of a field of glass, calling my name without sound. His arm was reaching through something invisible, like water that didn't ripple. Then I saw Taya, her face older now, eyes steady. She held out the amulet. It was glowing brighter than ever, but it wasn't meant for me. She turned and gave it to someone else. I woke up to wind shaking the windows. Elise was already awake. She said it was time. We walked down to the rocks by the coast. There was an arch there, made of coral and rusted iron. Beneath it, carvings I recognized. Spirals, open eyes, symbols from the tomb. Elise poured oil into the crevices and whispered something over the flame. The wind stopped. The world seemed to pause. Then a figure stepped out from behind the arch. Not Oro, but something similar. Not the skull this time. A face made of moving stone, eyes set like amber, smooth and still. He didn't speak, just watched. I stepped closer. He tilted his head, then opened his hand. Brendan's watch was in his palm, still ticking, still set to the time he disappeared. Elise asked if I was ready. I didn't answer. I wasn't, but I stepped forward anyway. The figure touched my forehead. Everything turned black for a moment, then warm, like fire and fog mixed. I saw flashes, mirrors breaking, stars falling into oceans, people running from cities made of bone. Then it all stopped. I was standing back on the rocks, alone. The sun was rising. My clothes were damp. Brendan's watch was in my hand. Elise was gone. No trace of her, not even footprints in the sand. I walked back to the cabin in silence. That night, I heard the drums again. Only this time, they were coming from inside the walls. And I wasn't sure I brought everything back the way it was.